But we have just a few minutes, but I would like to extend the opportunity to any of our audience members who might want to raise a question with one of our panelists. We have mics in the middle. We'll take 2 questions, I think, and maybe make, sir, here, if you want to make your way to the mic, please. Okay. And I'm going to, we'll just line up real quick. We'll try and get both of you, please. And I think I saw one question in the back. Please formulate your question in the form of a question so we can keep it quick. Thank you. Excellent question. I'd like to ask Dr. Gassman if you would care to respond.
Sure. Why not? Can you hear me? Okay. What we had done was we had asked not only university scientists but the Army Corps of Engineers and others to participate in the discussion of what would be an appropriate projection for South Florida. And for the 2060 time frame, what we determined over the course of many, many discussions was that a 9 to 24-inch sea level rise scenario was appropriate for a 50-year time frame. So a 2-foot scenario would be the maximum that we would expect in the 2060 time frame. And do I think it's conservative? I think it's a very, very reasonable number to be using as a planning number for infrastructure that will be started to be constructed and designed today, and that we will have other opportunities to adjust as we learn more, so that infrastructure that we'll be putting in 10 years that will have its next 50-year life cycle will have that much more information and a different projection to provide for what would make the most sense for that new infrastructure.
Thank you, Dr. Gassman. Next question, please.
The regulatory agencies at a technical level in your plans, because there needs to be an evolution of the technical basis for several of the regulations, both within the EPA and the Florida DEP, not only with regards to new plans and infrastructure, but also in enforcing new forms of pollution that will arise even before sea level inundation occurs.
Okay. Is there anyone who'd like to tackle that question? Okay. You want to take this one now? Okay. Well, I would say that with regards to the engagement of the regulatory agencies, there's been a lot of policy advocacy, of course, with the partners that are very much aligned with the issues that you've just described regarding energy, renewables, and trying to address the greenhouse gas emissions questions. There's a lot of local level efforts that are taking place to try and advance projects and initiatives in that area. I think that we're going to continue to see more momentum gain through local initiatives that we'll begin to see, ideally, some shifts across the larger geographic area. The FDEP has not been an active participant in the compact process. However, there has been a significant exchange of information over time, engagement of regulatory agency staff at the compact summits themselves. But the next phase of implementation, too, is going to really be getting at the specifics of design criteria and standards, and I think that that's going to serve as the impetus for that broader conversation. We do, though, also have, I think, a very notable example of which we've been working with the state agency regarding planning, and that is with the Department of Economic Opportunity, where we were successful in working regionally to advance language that's now part of the comprehensive planning process that addresses areas of vulnerability due to sea level rise and tidal inundation as part of adaptation action areas. And so currently there is a grant involving NOAA, the Department of Economic Opportunity, and I believe DEP is part of that process. as well as the Regional Planning Council, in trying to develop specific criteria, recommendations that might be used by local governments to begin to designate those areas of vulnerability and address planning as well as infrastructural improvements that would be specific to those same areas. So as I said, I think that engagement process is newer, but we're seeing it grow with some of the implementation that's happening to date. And yes, sir, you had a question.
Does any of the modeling that you're doing include hurricane events? I mean, I listened to the last gentleman, and he must be kidding. I mean, if you have a hurricane storm, they're going to be underwater. I live on Key Biscayne in Hurricane Andrew. I had 6 inches of water in the house.
Right.
I mean, so is any of the modeling that you're doing recognizing that there are events that go from mild to extreme?
I'm going to allow Dr. Nancy Gassman to respond, please.
The modeling that Ed was showing you is what's called bathtub modeling. It's a very simple representation of the elevations that are currently expected to be below sea level at a certain event. You're absolutely correct in that it does not take into consideration extreme rain events, extreme high tides, or storm surge. A number of the communities within the 750 area are looking at advanced storm surge modeling to understand better how sea level rise will impact the storm surge, because our storm surge models right now do not take that into effect. That being said, there's a lot of modeling that's available to understand storm surge in our current situation for today.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that it is 2 o'clock. I know we were supposed to wrap up just now. Our panelists, most of them will be here after the session if you'd like to connect. I want to thank them for their participation today. I also wanted to just make quick mention that while we've been talking a great deal about vulnerability, there are also a lot of efforts underway with regards to renewable energy, solar in particular, and I'd like to invite anyone in the audience who's interested in solar to attend the Go Solar Fest tomorrow, being held in Broward County at the Broward Convention Center. It's actually tomorrow and Saturday. It's geared towards opportunities to advance solar in our community, how we're streamlining permitting. We talked about regulatory hurdles. We're trying to address that. Financing and best practices. The event's designed for industry reps, local government, business, and of course our residents. So we hope to see you at the Go Solar event. Thank you.